The ground shook before the sky even changed color. Her people looked up, searching for the usual warning lights or enemy ships, but the sky was clear. No sirens, no alarms, just silence, and then the sound of screaming wind and broken trees. A war beast had come from the Black Ridge, a place their kind had long feared. It was tall like a tower, with legs thicker than pillars and a mouth wide enough to crush 3 warriors at once. It moved with the rage of a storm and the precision of a hunter. No one knew why it had come now after so many quiet years. The village guards raised their shock spears and stood in formation, hoping to slow the monster. But their weapons barely left a mark. The beast roared and swiped its tail, sending 10 soldiers flying like leaves in a storm. Mothers screamed, children ran, even the oldest warriors began to fall back. In the middle of the chaos, a strange humming sound filled the air. It was not the sound of battle or panic. It was steady and rhythmic. Something was approaching from behind the beast, but no one could. See what? Dust and broken stone blocked the view. The beast turned its massive head, confused for a moment. Then it happened. Out of the dust came a figure riding the war beast's back. A human. A real human. Their people had only heard stories about humans. Dangerous, strange, powerful, and foolish. But this one did not look wild. He sat calmly on the beast's back, his hand on some kind of strange device that blinked blue and red. The beast, which had been tearing through buildings and warriors, suddenly stopped moving. It let out a soft grunt and lowered its head. The human tapped the device once more, and the beast sat like a trained beast of burden. The entire camp stood frozen. Even the fires crackled quietly as if afraid to make noise. The human raised one hand in greeting. His voice was deep but kind. "I come in peace," he said in their native tongue. The crowd gasped. He shouldn't have known their language, but he spoke it perfectly. "I was not your enemy. This beast destroyed many of your people, but now it listens to me. I'm here to end this war before it begins." The village elder stepped forward. Her voice shook, but not from fear. "What are you?" she asked. "A god? A weapon?" The human smiled slightly. "No," he said. "Just someone who got tired of running, and someone who found this beast before your real enemies did." Behind the elder, the village priestess trembled. Her eyes stared at the beast, then the human. "He rides the thing that haunted our dreams, and now he controls it like it's nothing. What kind of man is this?" she whispered. The human dismounted slowly. The beast remained still, breathing softly, like a sleeping creature. Dust settled around them. The human walked forward and offered a strange fruit from his pack to a crying child. The child took it, confused. The human looked at the others and spoke again. "I need shelter for the night. In return, I'll tell you why I came and what's coming next." No one moved for a long time. Then the elder nodded. "One night," she said, "you'll speak, and we'll listen. But if this is a trick, human, even your beast won't save you." The human nodded with respect. "That's fair," he said. "But I didn't come to trick you, I came to warn you, because the true war hasn't even started yet." The fire burned low in the center of the camp as the villagers sat around it. Their eyes stayed fixed on the human who had arrived riding death itself. He sat calmly beside the beast, running, his hand over its thick, scaly hide. No one dared move too close. The elder woman stood with her staff and looked straight at him. "Speak your truth," she said. Her voice was clear, but her fingers tightened around the wood. The others whispered behind her. They still didn't trust him. He was too calm, too human, and he had tamed the nightmare they had feared for years. The human nodded once and began to speak. "This beast didn't come from your lands," he said. "It was brought here by another force, a force that moves across stars taking what it wants. Your planet is next. I saw it happen before, on my own world." Gasps spread through the crowd like a wave. Even the guards leaned in to hear more. One warrior, taller than the rest, crossed his arms and spoke boldly. "And why should we believe you, Beast Rider?" he asked. "How do we know you're not the start of this invasion?" The human turned his eyes to the warrior. They were tired eyes, but sharp. "Because if I were, you'd already be ashes," he replied. "This beast wouldn't have stopped, and I wouldn't be offering you a way to fight back." A hush followed. His words. The elder stepped closer, her steps slow and firm. "What is this force? What do they want from us?" she asked. "We have no riches, no weapons strong enough to interest such a threat." "They want life," the human answered. "They don't take gold or fuel. They harvest minds, energy. They infect. Then they command. Once they take a few of you, they turn your own people into weapons." The priestess dropped her staff in shock. Her hands trembled as she clutched her necklace. "We have no defense against such things," she whispered. "Our gods don't speak of enemies like this. We only know how to fight with hands and blades." The human pulled something from his belt. It was a small device, glowing gently with blue light. "This holds memories from the last world that fell," he said. "It shows their ships, their soldiers, and their weapons. Watch it, learn from it, or die like the others did." He pressed the button and the device projected floating images into the air. Everyone stared in silence as they saw cities fall, skies darken, and creatures descend like shadows. Some looked away. Others wept. The beast beside the human growled softly, sensing their fear. But it stayed still. It was no longer wild. It had been broken, tamed, and taught. A weapon now resting in the hands of a man no one knew. When the projection ended, the human stood. His voice lowered, but carried strength. "You can either stay and wait for them, or you can learn, fight, and maybe survive," he said. "But you won't win this war with what you have now. You'll need more than faith and swords." The elder turned to the crowd. Her eyes were full of fire. "Then we must decide. Do we follow this stranger who rides the beast of nightmares? Or do we trust in our own ways and face the enemy alone?" One by one, the villagers looked at each other. Some were unsure, some afraid, but most knew the truth. What they saw in the sky that night was real. What the human showed them was not a lie. And in their hearts, they feared the silence before, the storm more than the beast itself. Finally, the elder raised her hand and pointed at the human. "We give you 3 days," she said. "Teach us. Prepare us. If your words are true, then we will fight with you." The human bowed his head, in thanks. "Then we start at sunrise," he said, "because they're already on their way." The next morning came with a strange stillness in the air. The village, once full of fearful whispers, now buzzed with a quiet determination. Warriors, farmers, and even the children gathered around the center ground, waiting for the human to speak. The beast sat behind him like a silent mountain, its eyes watching everything. The human stepped forward, holding 2 wooden sticks. He gave one to the tallest warrior who had challenged him the night before. "Attack me," he said. The warrior frowned but obeyed. He lunged quickly. The human moved faster. He blocked, twisted, and dropped the warrior to the ground in seconds. Gasps filled the space. The warrior stood up with a grunt, rubbing his arm, but he was not angry. He was impressed. "How did you do that?" he asked. The human helped him up and handed back the stick. "I used your strength against you. That's the first lesson. Power means nothing without control." From that moment, the villagers watched with new eyes. The human trained them in ways they had never seen. He taught them how to move in silence, how to strike only when needed, how to avoid being seen, and how to work as one unit instead of many separate fighters. He split them into groups and trained each group differently. One for speed, one for defense, one for traps. Even the children learned to alert, signal, and confuse. Everyone had a role. Everyone had something to protect. The beast was part of the training too. The human showed them how it responded to certain sounds. A short whistle made it freeze. A low hum made it crouch. A sharp clap made it roar. With time, even the villagers began to lose their fear of it. The priestess approached the human one afternoon. "You carry no mark of gods," she said, But you speak with fire. Are you sure you're not something more than a man? The human shook his head. No gods helped my world. Just people who fought until they couldn't. Her eyes softened. Then may your fire light ours, she whispered. She turned and joined the training lines without another word. For the first time, her people saw her lift a weapon, and for the first time she looked ready to use it. By the second day, the elder walked among the villagers with pride. I see fire in your steps, she told them. I see the will to live, not just to hide. This is what we were missing. That night, the human showed them the sky. He pointed to a dark patch among the stars. That's where they are now, he said. When that dark patch grows bigger, they will be close. You'll feel it before you see it. A boy raised his hand. Did you lose people? He asked. The human nodded slowly. Everyone, he said. That's why I won't lose again. The wind carried silence after his words. Even the fire stopped crackling. The villagers understood then that this fight was not just theirs. It was his too, and he carried more pain than he showed. Before dawn on the third day, the beast stood and let out a low growl. The human opened, his eyes from sleep, and whispered, They've come early. The sky was still dark, but a shimmer moved across the stars. A shadow like oil spread from above. The ground beneath their feet vibrated. The human grabbed his weapon, not made of steel, but of glowing blue light. He turned to the villagers, now soldiers. Positions, he said. Remember what I taught. Don't fight to die. Fight to protect. Fight to win. They nodded as one. And when the first enemy shapes dropped from the sky, they were ready. The sky opened like a torn curtain. Strange. Crafts fell through the clouds, glowing with a sick green light. Their shape was smooth and sharp like the bones of sea creatures. The villagers stood in silence, weapons tight in their hands. Their eyes burned with fear, but their feet held firm. The human didn't shout. He simply raised one hand and made a quick motion. His people moved like water, splitting into groups. Some ran for the cliffs to fire from above. Others went underground to guard the tunnels. The rest stayed near the heart of the camp where the children were hidden. The beast moved with them. It did not roar or charge. It walked slowly, with purpose. The enemy ships touched the ground with soft hisses. Out came the soldiers, tall, thin, and faceless. Their armor looked like melted glass. Their weapons pulsed with dark energy. One of the villagers screamed and tried to run forward, but the human grabbed his arm. Not yet, he said. They expect fear. Give them surprise instead. At his signal, a bright flash erupted from the side cliffs. The trap was set. A rockslide crushed the first wave of enemy soldiers. The villagers hiding above threw down oil sacks, lighting them with fire arrows. Black smoke rose high into the air. The enemy staggered, confused by the sudden attack. That's when the human gave the second signal. A sharp whistle. The beast charged with earth-shaking steps. Its tail smashed through two enemy machines. Its roar echoed like thunder through the valley. Villagers fought alongside the beast. Their training showed. They used ropes, nets, and speed instead of just strength. One group tricked a tall soldier into falling into a pit of sharpened wood. Another set fire to the fuel lines on one of the alien ships. The human moved like a storm. His glowing weapon hummed with each strike. It cut through armor like cloth. He wasn't just fighting. He was leading with every move. The villagers followed. His rhythm and struck harder each time he moved forward. But the enemy adapted quickly. One of them fired a strange weapon at the beast. It howled and stumbled. The human turned instantly, eyes burning with fury. He ran to the beast's side and placed his hand on its neck. Hold on, he whispered. You're not falling today. The beast stood again, its eyes wild but alive. Together they pushed forward. The human's voice rang out. Now, all of you. Push them back before they call more. The villagers gave one final charge. Screams filled the air, but they were not screams of panic. They were of purpose. Even the youngest among them threw rocks and set traps. The enemy faltered, then turned. Their ships lit up as if calling for help, then lifted off and disappeared into the clouds. Smoke filled the battlefield. Bodies lay scattered, both alien and native. The wind carried the smell of burnt ground and blood. But the village still stood. The heart of it was untouched, and the children had never been found by the enemy. The elder walked through the battlefield with slow steps. She looked at her people, wounded but breathing. She looked at the human, tired but standing. And she looked at the beast, bruised but alive. She raised her staff high and said only one word: victory. But the human didn't smile. He looked to the sky, where the clouds still swirled in unnatural patterns. That was just the scout wave, he said. The real army comes next. The fire in the villagers' hearts didn't go out. If anything, it burned brighter. Now they believed not just in him. They believed in themselves. The battlefield still smoked when the human gathered the village leaders. They sat around the scorched stone, their faces marked by ash and blood. But their eyes showed something new. Not fear, not doubt, but readiness. The human placed a metal sphere in the center. With a click, it opened and showed a glowing map in the air. "This is where their fleet is hiding," he said. "Behind your moon. They've waited to see how easy you'd fall. Now they've seen you can fight." Right. Elder leaned forward. Her voice was dry. "Then they will come in full strength," she said. "And next time we may not be lucky." The human nodded. "We were not lucky," he said. "You were prepared. You listened. You fought. But next time, it will take more than courage. It will take sacrifice." The warrior who once doubted him now stood at his side. His armor was cracked, his arm wrapped in cloth. But his voice was strong. "Then tell us what to do next," he said. "Tell us where to strike." The human tapped the map. "They have a relay tower on the northern ridge. It controls their signals. If we destroy it, they'll be blind. And if they're blind, they'll panic." The priestess raised her eyes to the sky. "Then they will burn everything in rage," she said. "They will come like fire from above." "Exactly," the human said. "That's when we strike again, but not with strength, with surprise. You have caves, hidden paths, things they don't see. Use them." The villagers began preparing that same night. Tools became weapons. Cloth became armor. Even the elders began sharpening blades. The children carried messages between groups. No one sat still. The beast rested near the human's tent. It was hurt, but healing. Its side was wrapped with thick, leaves soaked in glowing sap. When the human touched its head, it closed its eyes with trust. Inside his tent, the human stared at a cracked photo in his hand. A woman and a child smiled from another world, a world he couldn't save. He placed the photo in his pocket and stood. The next day, they marched in silence. Not through the open lands, but through the tunnels that ran under the old hills. These paths were older than memory, built by ancestors who feared the ground above. They came out near the base of the northern ridge. The relay tower stood tall, shining with a red pulse. Alien guards surrounded it, unaware of the eyes watching from the shadows. The human signaled. Small teams moved out like whispers. One set traps. Another prepared ropes to climb. A third waited, with bows and burning oil. The human moved with the fourth group straight toward the tower's base. They struck as the sky turned orange. One arrow, then another, then fire. The alien guards screamed and scattered. The beast charged from a hidden cave, smashing through their ranks with a roar that shook the mountain. The human reached the base and placed a device against the tower's side. It beeped once, twice, then glowed green. "Fall back," he ordered. "Now." As they ran, the tower exploded behind them. Fire shot high into the air. The red light vanished. The stars above blinked, as if something had gone dark in space. The human turned and watched the smoke rise. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He simply whispered, "Now they know we are not weak." The elder caught up beside him, breathing hard. "And now?" she asked. What happens next? He looked to the night sky. Now we wait, he said, because the real storm is coming. The sky turned red 2 days after the tower fell. Strange clouds swirled like smoke, twisting with sparks of blue light. Everyone in the village felt the change. Birds no longer sang. Even the wind refused to move. The human stood on the wall, eyes fixed on the horizon. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. His hand rested on the beast's neck. The creature growled softly, sensing something coming. The air carried a pressure that made it hard to breathe. The elder climbed the wall beside him. "So this is it," she said. "The storm you warned us about." He nodded once. "Yes," he said. "They know we're not prey. Now they come to crush us completely." The priestess gathered the people in the village square. She didn't chant prayers. She didn't ask for silence. She gave them orders. "Protect the young," she said. "Keep your weapons close. If you see fear in your neighbor, give them your strength." Above them, the sky split open. Ships, larger than mountains, pushed through the clouds. They floated without sound, but the air cracked beneath them. Lights glowed along their sides. Weapons began to open like flowers made of metal. The human raised his voice. "Now remember your training," he shouted. "This is not about being strong. This is about being smart. We fight to delay. We fight to protect. And we never fight alone." Explosions hit the edges of the village. Dirt and fire flew into the sky. But the villagers didn't run. They moved. In formation. They used smoke bombs and mirrors to confuse the attackers. They set traps hidden under rugs and stones. The beast charged forward with the first line of defenders. Its roar shattered the silence. It bit down on one of the enemy walkers and tore it apart. The villagers followed behind it, using the opening to strike hard and fast. From the ships above, strange soldiers dropped like rain. They had new weapons. Faster, stronger. But they didn't understand the land. The villagers knew every tree, every rock, every shadow. They struck, vanished, then struck again. The human fought near the village heart. He stayed close to the children and the priestess. His glowing blade moved like light. Every step he took was planned. Every strike mattered. He didn't waste energy. He didn't let anger take over, but the enemy numbers grew. For every one they cut down, 3 more dropped from the sky. A large blast hit the east wall. Stone broke. A second blast followed. The wall cracked open. Enemy soldiers poured in like a wave. The human turned fast. "Hold the center," he shouted. "I'll stop the breach." He ran toward the broken wall with a team of 10 fighters. The beast followed, smashing through anything in its path. The battle near the breach was wild. Dust made it hard to see. Screams filled the air. Fire lit the sky. The human climbed the broken wall and placed a strange orb on the ground. "Cover your ears," he warned. He struck it once. A pulse burst from it, throwing back the enemy in every direction. For a moment, the breach held, but they were tired. Their numbers were thinning. The beast bled from 2 deep wounds. The villagers fought with all they had. Yet still the enemy came. The elder held the priestess as a soldier fell beside them. "We are breaking," she said. "Even with all this, even with him, we cannot hold forever." The priestess looked toward the human. He stood in the center, surrounded but unshaken. His back was straight. His blade glowed. His voice rose again, calm and strong. "Then we don't hold forever," he said. "We hold long enough." Smoke covered the village like a thick blanket. Fires burned on rooftops and bodies lay still in the dust. The beast limped through broken stone, protecting those it could, but its strength was fading with every step. The human wiped blood from his forehead. He moved slower now. His arm was bruised. His left leg dragged slightly, yet his eyes stayed sharp. He still gave orders, still stood tall. The villagers followed him because they believed in him. At the heart of the village, the priestess helped carry injured children to the last safe shelter. "Protect them," she said to a young warrior. Even if the walls fall, even if we fall, they are the last hope. A loud roar shook the ground. The sky above opened again, but this time something larger dropped through. A warship shaped like a claw. It hovered over the center of the village. Lights turned red. The ground began to melt beneath it. The human looked up. "This is their endgame," he said. "They want to burn it all, to leave nothing behind." "The key." Elder joined him, her steps slow but firm. "Then what do we do?" she asked. "How do we stop the sky itself from falling?" He looked at the beast, then at the device on his wrist. "We make them choose," he said. "We make this too, costly to be worth it." He ran toward the warship, dodging blasts and broken stone. The beast followed, blood dripping from its side. Villagers cleared a path for them. Even the wounded shouted to guide the way. Everyone played a part. The ship lowered a metal claw toward the village center. A beam of energy charged inside its frame. The human reached into his belt and pulled out a silver cube. He pressed it, and the ground beneath him glowed with blue circles. He turned to the crowd. "This is a signal flare. If it touches that ship's core, it will set off a chain reaction. It won't destroy them all, but it will scare them. It will stop this invasion, but it may cost me everything." The beast grunted and nudged him forward. The human placed a hand on its face. "Thank you," he whispered. "You've done more than anyone ever asked." He climbed onto the beast's back once more. The villagers watched in silence. Dust swirled around them. Even the enemy seemed to pause. Something had changed in the air. The beast ran with all it had left. Legs weak, breathing rough. But it didn't stop. It charged straight under the warship's shadow. The human raised the cube above his head. Lights pulsed from it like stars trapped in glass. The claw opened. The beam of destruction began to hum louder. Just before it could fire, the human leaped into the air, tossing the cube directly into the beam's heart. A white flash lit up the sky. A shockwave blasted across the village. The ship cracked from its center and veered sideways. Flames burst from its engines. It didn't fall, but it rose quickly and vanished back into the clouds. Silence returned. Only wind moved now. The beast lay still in the dust. The villagers ran to the spot where the human had landed, but all they found was his broken wrist, device still blinking with faint light. The elder picked it up and held it high. He gave them a choice. "And they left," she said, "because one man made them fear loss for the first time." The priestess closed her eyes. "Then maybe we've already won," she said. "If one human made them retreat, imagine what many could do." They stood around the fallen beast, heads bowed, hearts full. For the first time in generations, the village had survived the storm. The village stood in silence for many hours. Smoke faded. Flames turned to ash. The sky above was clear for the first time in days. Yet no one cheered. No one sang. They were alive, but their hearts were heavy. Children peeked from shelters. Warriors sat beside fallen friends. The beast's body lay near the broken wall, its eyes closed but peaceful. A gentle wind passed through its fur as if the land itself mourned its passing. The elder sat on a stone, holding the broken wrist device. "He gave us more than hope," she said. "He gave us time. He gave us a future we didn't believe was possible." The priestess knelt beside the beast. Her hand rested gently on its side. "It didn't follow him because of power," she said. "It followed him because he saw its pain. He saw its worth, just like he saw ours." A group of villagers gathered in the center. They brought stones and metal and wood. No one spoke, but each one added to the growing shape. A monument began to rise, not tall or grand, but strong, honest, built with hands that once only knew fear. They carved two figures into the stone, one of the beast, the other of the human with his glowing blade. Between them they carved a single word from their language. It meant protector. Weeks passed. The skies remained quiet. No ships returned. No shadows fell. The enemy had retreated. For now they were safe, but they trained each day. They prepared as he had taught. They would never be unready again. The children learned his name. They spoke it with pride. They acted out his stories. Some wore cloth bands on their arms like he did. Others carried wooden sticks shaped like his weapon. He had become a symbol of strength. One morning, the priestess called for the villagers to gather. She stood beside the elder and raised a small cube. It was left behind under the beast's body. When activated, it showed a recording. His face appeared, worn but calm. "If you're seeing this," he said, "then you survived. That means you're stronger than they believed. Good. They won't stop forever, but neither will you. Remember what I taught. Train the next ones. Make them smarter, faster, kinder." His voice paused. Then he smiled slightly. "And tell the children, the beast was the bravest of us all. Tell them it never gave up, not once. Just like you won't." The image faded. The cube powered down. No one moved. No one needed to. His final words were now etched in every heart. The elder turned to the crowd. "We were once afraid of the stars," she said. "Now we look up and remember the one who came from them. Not as a conqueror, not as a god, but as a friend." That night, the stars shone brighter than ever. The monument stood tall under the moon. Flowers were placed at its base. Candles flickered beside it. And for the first time in many years, songs returned to the village. The priestess sang the first note, then a child, then a warrior. Their voices rose not in sorrow but in strength. The song told the story of the beast, of the man who wrote it, of the people who changed because of him, and though he was gone, the human had become part of them, in memory, in training, in hope. His story would be told for generations, a tale not of war, but of unity, not of destruction, but of purpose. Because when the beast came to destroy, he came to ride it. And because he did, the world was never the same again.